Welcome back to Sports Corner. We were just talking about the overall schedule of UW. Now we're going to get down to positions. First, I want to talk QBs. Sean Chambers was named starting quarterback. He's young, but he's obviously eligible. How are you feeling that he's going to live up to those standards this season?
I mean, he was so promising last year before that injury kind of took him down, and so I think it leaves fans with a little bit of I don't want to say unfinished business, but that little taste on the tip of your tongue that you're like, I want more of that. Mm-hmm. And obviously Tyler Vanderwall came in and finished off the season strong, had those big comebacks. So I think he's more capable than I think people give him credit for. But obviously it's the Sean Chambers show. He's kind of the guy, barring any amazing catastrophe. So they're going to let him have free reign of the offense and just let him go out there.
That seemed like the talk of the entire season, at least the end of the season last year, was a redshirt freshman Tyler Vanderwall and a true freshman Sean Chambers leading this group with a nationally ranked defense. And you're like, we're trying to put up points. We can't even break 20 points. And then Sean Chambers comes in, 3 starts and 3 wins, and 3 100-yard rushing games. But I want to point out a couple stats that were a little concerning. In the 2 games that he started and played the whole game against Colorado State and San Jose State, just 4 of 8 passing, 1 touchdown, 58 passing yards. Colorado State, big border war win, but just 7 of 10 passing, 2 touchdowns, and 116 passing yards. So in the 2 full games he played, he's averaging 9 passing attempts, which is not a Division I college quarterback, what you usually see. I understand a freshman working into the flow, but once he gets up toward 20, can he maintain that with a senior core of wide receivers? That's how you're going to put up points. I know the running game's important, but your quarterback's got to be able to throw, so I guess we'll see more of that this year.
Yeah.
Definitely. The numbers are there, so, I mean, I can understand why Chambers was chosen for that starting spot. But as we've watched Coach Craig Bull's fall camp interviews, he's talked a lot about putting both of them in pressure situations and making sure that they're both up to par in case Chambers and Vanderwall are switching it up. But let's talk running backs now. What are you seeing out of those guys?
That was the big question mark for this offense, right? Like, and so far it sounds like they're going to go by committee. It sounds like they don't have a definitive number one. They don't have like a Brian Hill-esque back there that can handle 30 to 50 carries. Valladay says that he can. X says that he can do 30 to 50 or 50 would be a lot. 30 to 35 if need be. But it sounds like they're going to try to keep spicing it up, get some different backs, get some different looks, bruisers and speedsters to mix it up a little bit. But, I mean, they're going to really need to spice it up because I don't think they have that one premier back that can go for them right now.
Yeah.
Right. And Xavier Valladay, good news. Last game of the season against New Mexico, 197 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. They're not the best opponent, but he still showed out. And then Trey Smith is going to be big, like you were mentioning, from Louisville, the grad transfer. He's more of a bruiser, 6 feet, 218, which is like 1 inch shorter than me and 40 pounds heavier. So you can imagine how much bigger he is. So that experience is going to be good. And then Titus Swen, Coach Bull's been talking a lot about him, the true freshman from Fort Worth, Texas. Football is huge down there. So
high school football, too.
Right. And that running back by committee, though, Brady, I think you're right. At least that's how they're going to start.
Right.
When I talked to Valladay at Media Day, he said that he had a personal goal of getting over to 1,000 yards again this year. So we'll see if he can deliver that. But going back to that nationally ranked defense last year, that's going to be crucial again for them this year. They've produced a lot of NFL players, Eddie Yarbrough and Marcus Epps. And so, and then Andrew Winkert, of course. But, what do you think that we have as far as defense this season?
Oh, man. The way I look at it is really going to be on the linebackers. More than anything else, that's one of your most conditioned, experienced cores that they have, Logan Wilson, Kashmir Lua. Those guys are going to have to be relied upon because they have a smaller, kind of unproven defensive line this year compared to last. And it's going to be upon those guys to get into the backfield or get to the quarterback because they also have an unproven secondary basically waiting back there. And they can't just kind of get carved up by offenses. They're going to have to get some help, get some pressure on the quarterback from those front 7. And it starts with the linebackers because those are kind of the leaders of your defense. And that is the most seasoned veteran leadership group that this team has now.
Yep.
I'm also worried about their defensive line because you had 4 guys on that defense who are now in the NFL. You mentioned Marcus Epps, Andrew Wingard, Carl Granderson, and Sidney Malaulu. And 4 guys on that defensive line who got a lot of time last year are going to have to be replaced, get after that quarterback, get some pressure, and then with a somewhat inexperienced secondary, that's going to be a big question mark for the Pokes.
Speaking of question marks, just to wrap it up, Brady, maybe for you, what are some question marks that you still see about this team that we haven't really developed or touched on since fall camp going into week 1?
I'd like to see how they're built now in general on the offense. I mean, it made sense that Sean Chambers was the go-to guy last year because he's the closer to Josh Allen-esque than Tyler Vanderwall. I don't know if that's a system they want to go into, but I want to see how they utilize that. And I know as a former 8-man tight end myself, I would like to say, their tight end utilization. Like, Josh Harshman had a great season last year until an injury takes him out early. And he was putting up big numbers. And I know talking with him and talking with his dad and hearing from more down there is he's excited to get back into it. And it sounds like Craig Bowl really wants to implement the tight ends, which they have a lot of. They have depth at, they have big guys at. So I'm curious to see how that fits in because not a lot of teams do that right now.
Hasn't been touched on that much. Carmine, what about you?
Yeah, I think the big question mark is the tight ends as well. Quarterback, can Sean Chambers throw the ball? We know he can run it with 3 100-yard rushing games and replacing Nico Evans, 132.5 rushing yards per game. 4th in the nation, 1st in the Mountain West. Can that running back by committee, like you mentioned, replace him? And just the defense in general. The standard has been so high the past 2 seasons. You lose 4 guys to the NFL, and so what's going to happen? We don't know. I guess we'll find out against Missouri.
We will. We'll find out soon, just a week away. But thanks so much for your time, Brady. Carmine, always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back with some more Sports Corner after the break.